Day 2 began at the crack of dawn because my bike needed some attention. As mentioned at the end of the previous episode, something was missing from the motorcycle. Well, it wasn't completely missing because we're watching me remove some chunks of it from my brake caliper, rear wheel, and axle. Oh, and hot tip, if you really want to impress your significant other, just work on your motorcycle while wearing your best Helly Hansen jacket. They'll love and respect you for it, trust me. Anyway, back to the incident.
So, 91 kilometers on reserve.
So earlier the prior day, I tested the fuel range, which is very important as the fuel canister in the current shot was empty at the time. Now, I don't have any actual footage of what transpired, so you'll have to deal with my very crude, yet I assume accurate, recreation. I really love that bag. I feel like we bonded in the 3.5 days that I owned it. Still unsure of exactly what I had lost, I needed to improvise in order to continue the trip.
So we have a scrambler.
So, after successfully removing what was left of the bag and its contents from my rear brake caliper and wheel, I set off for the day. I will admit that at this point, I was considering just hitting the road and heading home.
Screw you guys, I'm going home!
As my 24 or so followers may recall, I lost another bag less than a month prior to this. I thought that perhaps the powers that be were trying to guide me away from something bigger and more detrimental to my well-being. But before deciding whether or not to call the trip off, I figured that I may as well have a look around Mount Carleton Park, clear my head, and see how I feel about pushing on. The dirt roads, waterfalls, lakes, and mountain views were just what I needed, so I headed to St. Quentin. Once there, I picked up the old railway bed and headed to Campbellton. This is a great, well-maintained trail with the odd obstacle, but overall a great intro route to ATV riding. After a while, the trail began to get a little muddy and it was obvious that I had just missed some heavy rain. As much as I enjoy playing in the mud, I decided to switch to the main road as I had a long way to go by the end of the day and didn't have extra time to spend potentially dealing with it. After riding on wet roads while looking at blue skies, I decided it was time to put on my rain gear to deal with the schizophrenic weather. The New Brunswick side of the Restigouche River was all clear. But it started raining hard as soon as I crossed over into Quebec. Luckily, the rain let off just as I arrived at my first planned stop. While traveling, one always has to check out a covered bridge. After a brief stop, it was time to continue north along the Matapedia River. The weather cleared up, and I was able to quickly hammer out the miles to Matan. While the roads may not produce the most entertaining camera footage, they are a joy to ride, and once you hit the coast, there's always something to look at. Like this whale with its makeup gun set on whore. Or the endless views of the St. Lawrence River. After missing the unmarked driveway a couple times, I was able to take a break from riding and walk to the Metis Lighthouse. The people who live around the lighthouse seem like a fun homeowners association. Lots of signs about what you can't do. I can only assume that they had problems with too many tourists at some point. I can't say that I cared for all the rules, or that I even followed every one of them. But lighthouses are like covered bridges. You see one, you go look. So after successfully avoiding any HOA Karens, I hit the road heading west along the St. Lawrence River. If phallic art is your thing, boy did I find the place for you. Like most art, I don't really get it, but it was a place to stop and stretch my legs and look around. Interesting to say the least. while still trying to mentally digest whatever it was I just looked at. I explored some random side roads before checking out the decommissioned Submarine and Lighthouse at Pointe-au-Pere. Tours of the Submarine are available, as is the view from the top of the lighthouse. But I'm not a fan of crowds, and I don't like leaving my motorcycle unattended for long periods of time, so I decided to move on. So after riding 380 kilometers on some trails and mostly pavement, through heavy rain and beautiful blue skies, I reached my shady motel in Rimouski. What it lacked in luxury was more than made up for by the ocean view out of my window. And after admiring the sunset, I fell asleep looking forward to the morning, as I would finally be hitting the Trans Quebec Trail the following day.